How's it going, buddy? I couldn't sleep. It's pretty late right now, so I apologize. I'm not fully coherent. I figured we could talk for a little bit. I've been thinking a lot about the meaning of life. It's a very dense topic. First thing I want to say is that I'm overwhelmed by the response from that last car chat video. It was the first time I ever did that in that format. And it's also the first time that I, in detail, talked about that experience with my father. And I remember how much anxiety that I had when I decided to post that. And that anxiety was from knowing that we live in a world where people can be very judgmental. A lot of us hide or run away from the darkness that's within us. We try to pretend like it's not there, and so we project onto others who have made mistakes or have hurt other people instead of looking within. But I was overwhelmed by the response, the amount of kindness, the amount of people that could relate to those kinds of inward battles. And of course, there were some malevolent, malicious comments. There always is with that kind of thing if you're being vulnerable, but it was overshadowed by the amount of love and kindness, and that gives me so much hope. So thank you. That means a lot. I'm a praying man. I might not identify with any specific religion. Like I said in that last video, I don't identify or claim to be a fundamentalist Christian anymore. But I do believe in a benevolent, loving force that guides us and sees us and connects us. And I know the Bible very well. Believe it or not, I have a lot of it memorized. I studied it for 25 years, and I want you to know, I know there's a lot of Christians that watch this. I just want you to know that I have a very open heart. It's not hardened. If I had a come to Jesus moment, the way that Paul did, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was this character in the New Testament who went by the name Saul of Tarsus, and he was very involved in Jewish religion, and a lot of Christianity was considered blasphemous, and so he was like the leader of the movement that was gathering Christians and killing them because their beliefs were considered blasphemous. And then Saul of Tarsus had this moment where he was on the road, and Jesus apparently physically appeared to him and was like, "Hey, stop killing people. I love them." And then Saul had this come to Jesus moment where he had a change of heart. He started believing in Jesus, changed his name to Paul. And I think a lot of those stories personally are symbolism and metaphor, but if something like that happened to me, I would be stoked. My heart is not hard. I wouldn't be like, "Fuck you, Jesus." Quite the opposite. I would welcome that. I'm just very honest at this point in my life. I used to believe certain things because I was told to. I was afraid that if I was like, "Hey, there's no personal evidence for these things for me. I don't know if I believe this." I was afraid that I would lose my friends and my community. And you know what? I did do that, and I did lose those people. And I'm glad I did. Because in this life, you want to be true to yourself. You want to tell the truth to others, but especially yourself. So that brings me back to the meaning of life. I'm a praying person. I pray. And if you're someone who prays, regardless of what religion, I think what you should pray for, or at least what I've been praying for the last several years, is to be a conduit and an instrument and an agent for divine will, whatever that may be. And that's very different than praying for what you want and what you think that you need. Because if you become a conduit for divine will, the level of fulfillment that you'll reach doesn't just impact you, but it impacts others too. This conversation that we're having right now is a miracle. When I had the whim to start a YouTube channel, I had zero expectations. I was just following something in my heart. I journal almost every day, and I share a lot of things with that journal. And that's kind of what this is. I'm basically journaling to you in hopes that it'll resonate with you, speak with a deeper part of your heart. And even if it contributes in a minute way towards pushing you towards what your gifts are and what your individual purpose is. And it's worth it, you know? And at this point in my life too, I have to say that I'm a crier. I cry almost every day, but it's not because of sadness, and it's not because of being upset for not getting what I want. It's usually tears of just being overwhelmed by just the intricacy of existence and just how things connect and how they tie together. Some of those comments, man, in that video that some of you guys left, you know, I didn't respond to all of them. There's no way that I could, you know, there's so many of them. But God, a lot of those comments, you have no idea how much it positively impacted me and contributed to my healing, you know, and that's what we do. We heal each other. Sometimes we don't even know it. And when you become an agent for divine will, and that's your number one prayer, sometimes you're doing that shit and you don't even realize it. You're just being yourself. So I think, at least for me right now, that's the meaning of life. And I'm not above you in any way. I'm not ever talking down to you. I'm not trying to pontificate. I'm just, you know, sharing with you what's on my heart. And even if I am a step or two ahead of you, I am just a seeker, just like you. If you're not happy with where you're at in life, if you have a job that maybe you hate and you feel like there's something more, that you're here for a reason, I would encourage you to listen to that voice. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to quit that job that you hate tomorrow. But I would encourage you to utilize every bit of free time that you have when you're not at that job. Fight the urge to numb yourself. Fight the urge to just binge TV and play video games and watch porn, you know, whatever your mind-numbing vices might be. Sit with the discomfort, go within. Pray. Ask to be an agent for divine will. and follow your curiosities, whatever those may be. You know, I know a lot of people are very creative, and there's something calling out to them. You know, whether you're a musician, an artist, a writer, maybe there's some business ideas that you've had sitting in your subconscious and in your heart for a long time. Maybe you're like me and you've been feeling a call to start a YouTube channel. It only took me like 4 years to start doing this kind of work. I talked myself out of it relentlessly. And sometimes God, the divine, has other plans for us. And so in your head, you might have the idea that you're meant to be a writer. And then you go down that path and you take a step of faith and you're writing. And then nothing happens for years and years. And all of a sudden that writing passion leads you to some other random vocation unexpectedly. I am a musician. That's what I've primarily done for a living, scraping by for the last few years. I've had songs on TV shows, I've had songs on advertisements and things like that. And there's just been a lot of ups and downs, you know. In my 30s now, I'm in my mid-30s, still not a rock star, but I've made a living with music, and I really thought that would be the thing for me, that I would do for the rest of my life. And for the first time in my life, I'm open to other possibilities, you know. People seem to be affected when I talk to them. And it started with, you know, friends. We'd have phone chats, they'd confide in me. And by the end of it, they'd be like, dude, like, I feel lighter, I feel seen, I feel like I have a little bit more of a sense of direction. And that made me realize that I might have a small gift when it comes just to talking. I don't have a script right now. I'm just sharing my heart with you. All that to be said, thank you. I really do have a lot of love for you. I know that we have this veil of a screen between us, but I feel you right now, you know, as I'm driving in this car, and it's miraculous that we can even interact this way. I've been doing these one-on-one calls, and I didn't really have any expectations with that initially. The price of those calls I had set pretty high because my time these days is pretty short. But I've been surprised at how many folks have been doing one-on-one calls, and so I've opened up my schedule a lot more to make more space for those kinds of calls, and all of them have been different. Some of them have just been casual talking about life. Some of them have been asking advice about fitness. Some of it's been asking me about my camera setup, the gear that I use, and the software that I use to edit. And it's been very fulfilling. It's been very enjoyable. If that's something that interests you, I've got a link in the description here if you want to set up a one-on-one call. Again, I'm not above you. Might be a couple steps ahead of you in a few different areas, but if you want to chat, that's something that interests you. I also started Instagram, so if you want to follow me on there, you can do that. I recently noticed that there's a feature called Super Thanks, where you can donate a few bucks, and some of you have been doing that, and that's really appreciated. That helps with keeping the channel going. While I figure all this out, it takes time to make this content, to edit, but I really do love it. I'm going to do my best regardless to show up for you guys as much as I can. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you want me to talk about. I'm on this journey just like you. I think that's all I got for you tonight. You are loved. You matter. barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. I'll talk to you soon.